Couples Therapy Bite.
I'm Stephen.
I'm Erin. And happy belated Mother's Day.
Yes. Happy
to myself.
Mother's Day.
And
you're a great mom.
Thank you.
The best.
To all of you out there.
The bee's knees.
Because we're aware this Mother's Day that from our experience, more than any other we've ever paid any attention to, so which hasn't been probably but about 8 years, there was more and more and more awareness and conversation and all sorts of information, acknowledgement that it's a hard day, and it can be a really, really hard day. And that there are people who want to be mothers that aren't. There are people who've lost their mothers. There are people who've lost their babies. There are all kinds of things.
Of losses around motherhood.
Yes. And that almost everyone's touched by them in some way. So we just wanted to sort of piggyback off that idea and first say thank you to everyone who's acknowledging that, because we have had lonely Mother's Days in the past because of that. My first Mother's Day as a mother, not just as a daughter, so I couldn't just sort of push it off onto my mom, was a Mother's Day where I had just lost a baby. So it was hard. So Mother's Days have never, well, since being married, have had a shadow cast on them for us. And what we wanted to talk today about was, like I just said, first a thank you to all of you for this growing awareness and acknowledgement, because it feels like a growing awareness and acknowledgement of us, of me, of you. So we're glad, and we wanted to join the movement and contribute our story. And what we wanted to say was that our stories of miscarriage, we have two, are not just my stories of miscarriage. So I think that is becoming more. You can speak to that maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I think so often, and I think one of the reasons that there's some passion around this too, so I actually did my research for my PhD on miscarriage. It also ended up being about infertility as well. And one of the things that I drove me to do so is because it so felt like oftentimes this type of loss is just placed in it's a loss for the woman in the relationship, or the one who was carrying the child, because it could be the same for same-sex couples too, in some respects. So and kind of there was this idea that it didn't matter to me, or there wasn't really anything written about dads who had miscarriages, and it wasn't even talked about that way, like dads who had miscarriages. It was more...
I would say like 90, if not more, % of the inquiries that Stephen received were about me. How's Erin? How's she doing? Or things of that nature. There was not a lot, still isn't a lot about like, hey Stephen, how are you? And then what the focus of what we wanted to talk about today is, how's your marriage? Because I took a hit, you took a hit, and so did our couple. Are we?
It's not just an individual loss over here that Erin experienced. It was a loss that we experienced, and then it was a loss that our relationship experienced. And I think if you treat it as like a your thing or my thing, it can create some real resentment and bitterness and problems in relationship.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, you found that in your research. We've heard about it. So I had a friend after a miscarriage that said, like, welcome to the club that nobody wants to be a part of, and that you didn't even know existed until now you're a member. But having been a member of that club now, we've heard from people who, there was a man I'm thinking of, he was in his 80s and came and talked to us about a baby they had lost, and it had shaped their marriage forever. It just sort of, it begins to define you.
Because it's typically people are trying to get pregnant or have kids early in their relationship. These kinds of struggles are really brutal and awful, and it kind of sets the tone for how will the couple process loss together, or will they or will they not?
Will they?
And there can be a lot of wounds and a lot of feelings of, well, you didn't do this, so that means you're never going to do that. And just lots of resentment.
And going into your own corner.
And our society is very silent about this and says, don't talk about it. And then for, women feel silenced in a particular way, but I think men also feel silenced because you're not supposed to talk about that. And in some ways you're not supposed to care because you're just the guy and it wasn't your body, and you care differently. And that means, it gets really confusing. And so people just say, well, let's just not talk about it.
Yeah.
And that translates to the couple, where the couple says, we don't talk about it anymore.
Right.
And
the best way to get through this is just to put it behind us
and move on.
And that's not real. It goes somewhere. There's no such thing as that. So it's going somewhere. And what we are wanting to say is that we certainly don't do it perfectly, and it does still come up.
Oh yeah. And I would say our first experience with miscarriage, we dealt with it better than our second experience. Our second experience of miscarriage, we both legitimately thought that we might get a divorce because of it. So we're by no means saying, hey, we've handled this great. There's been moments we have, and then there's been real moments that we haven't.
That's right. The first time, honestly, even, and there was difficulty in it, but I was so proud of us. I felt like
we're strong. We did it together.
Mm-hmm.
Stephen gets me. Erin gets me.
I was so seen in my loss, and that was a story of mine. So in terms of this I story, we story, I had really felt unseen in my losses in my life, and death specifically too. And then we had experienced this loss, and we were together. Stephen got it, and he got me, and I got him, and we were together. And not all the time. Yeah. But on our fourth pregnancy, so we had Bo, our first miscarriage, then we had Leeds, then we had Ezra, then we were pregnant with Superman that we let our 2-year-old name.
His name was Superman, yes.
And so we were pregnant with him, found out we miscarried, and it was an immediate train wreck for us. It was an immediate, and what we didn't realize is we both just got lost in that first miscarriage story. I got. You did. Yeah. I didn't. See, we still don't even understand. Yeah. But I most certainly did. I got. It took me to some really difficult places, and I just couldn't handle it, and so I couldn't really be a part of what was going on for Erin at all. And then she was like. Stephen was also still in the middle, towards the end of his research on a couple's experience of miscarriage. I forgot I was writing the very last chapter of my dissertation. He wasn't really excited to be trying to get pregnant anyway, but okay, Erin, let's do this. And then we miscarried. And it was too much, frankly, and it did break us. And it was somehow we made it out. That's another story, perhaps. But I can think of it. But I think that the point being, though, that we had these individual stories, and it wasn't until we were able to bring them together, and because we were wanting each other to have the same thing. I wanted Stephen to be sad like I was sad, like he had the first time, you're supposed to see me. And you wanted, I don't know what you wanted. I don't know. I don't really, it's really hard to know. It was really overwhelming. But I think just the idea, and obviously we care about this, we are advocates for this, but in this loss, really the simple idea is you will be stronger as a couple if you don't just sweep it under the rug, and if you kind of stumble and bumble through trying to figure out what it was like for one another, and to have a shared meaning about that for your couple relationship. Even if this is something that happened many, many years ago, it's still important. And people might disagree with that, but that it's important? That you need to do that, and we would just disagree with those people. And all brain research will support us. Yeah, and we feel that our own experience, my own research, our understanding of what brings psychological health would support that. Stephen, sort of the phrase that he came to in his dissertation that really helped our marriage was finding a way to connect in the disconnect.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't understand each other. We aren't connected. We can connect about that.
Yeah.
We neither one feel understood. You don't either. I don't either.
So
There's
tell
a
me
connection.
about
more
it.
about it.
Because this feels terrible for me. It's got to feel terrible for you. Help me
Yeah.
understand. Just something as simple as that is what I really think can turn the tide.
Because it will shape your marriage.
Yeah.
One
It
way or
is.
the other.
It is. It has.
It-
It does. That's a little bit of our just our experience and our hope and our passion behind advocating for this loss and bringing something that is so silent, giving it a voice for both people who experience it.
And the we,
Yeah.
that couple.
Yeah. And so this is our kind of subversive push against culture about being silent and not having a shared story about it. So hopefully you can do the same in a way that's meaningful for you if this is part of your story in your life. So
Thanks for listening. Thank you for watching.
share us with your friends. Comment below. We want to hear what your experiences are. Like, let this be a place where there might be a voice for it in the comment section below if that feels meaningful to you.
We would love to hear.
Yeah. And thanks again. Subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.